Hi everyone. Today I have the pleasure of talking to Keiran Snape, and he is running as an independent for the seat of Adelaide. I will let Keiran introduce himself a little bit, and then we'll have a bit more of a chat around his campaign and what's coming up in the lead up to the state election. Hi, Keiran.
Hi, Lisa, and thank you for having me along today. I really appreciate it. So yes, I'm running as the community independent right here in the state seat of Adelaide. I've been very fortunate to serve on the Adelaide City Council for just over 4.5 years, including two stints as a Deputy Lord Mayor of Adelaide, which was quite an honour and got me a lot of opportunity to talk to many different people and many different residents and constituents. And it's actually a job and a role that I genuinely have a lot of passion for. However, what's happened is over that 4.5 years, a lot of the concerns that people have raised with me have actually been in the state arena, be it parklands development and many other varied issues. And so that and quite a few other different reasons, and I'll come into some of those shortly, is why I decided to take the next step and put my hand up to run as an independent against the Labour government. As you and I have discussed off camera, Lisa, prior, I am very fortunate to be transparent with your listeners, viewers. I've spent just over a year working in the office of Tammy Franks, the now independent member of the state upper house, and was part of her team, which dealt with the child protection bill that Christine Hilliard had under her auspice, and kind of experienced through that a lot of the frustration, a lot of the disappointment that carers and the wider community, including Tammy and her team, the disappointment that we felt in the minister and in the Labour government around this particular issue. So it is an issue that means a lot to me. I actually have a personal connection as well. My partner has been through the foster care system themselves until they were 18. And so I've heard firsthand experiences of that. I won't go more into that particular stuff, keep their privacy. But I have heard firsthand experiences of what the system is like and what, the need for change, basically. So you as the Carer Project have my full support, and I just appreciate the opportunity that you give me here today to talk.
Thank you for coming on and talking to everybody. Something I've seen that you appear to have a passion for is the parklands, and I was having a bit of a look at your Facebook page and thought maybe can you tell us a bit more about the Sing for the Parklands event?
Oh,
And
yes. So we just had a couple of days ago, we had a Sing for a Parklands event. So we got 40 residents together, just over 40 residents together, and basically sang a few songs, did some social media, had Channel 7 come along, and just raising awareness of the Malinaskis Labour government's attacks on our parklands. And yeah, had a bit of fun doing so as well. But it is quite a serious issue. We pride ourselves on livability here in Adelaide, but our parklands are world renowned. They are quite big. They're 3 times larger than the Central Park, and we're seeing ongoing attacks. Buildings being built, asphalt, concrete being poured down, trees being ripped up, including for the new corporate Live Golf course. So we know Malinaskis likes its big corporate events and spending money on that, and not necessarily things that matter. But it's not just a bunch of eco types tying themselves to trees getting upset about this. It's mum and dads, it's carers, it's community members, it's families, it's children. These green spaces provide so much social, economic, mental, physical health benefits. Especially, we're seeing smaller and smaller properties being built in the city and in the city area. We need these green spaces. It's important. It's an important place for people to go, and to lose those is devastating. So it's a large part of the campaign. It's by no means the only thing, but no, we had a great fun event. So yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm quite worried about the number of trees that we are cutting down everywhere, that tree
Mm.
canopy, the shade. native wildlife,
Mm.
all of the things impacted by by that sort of project, let alone just even the local councils who are taking down so many trees and building the new developments as well. We've got them out here where they're cutting down the trees and planting palm trees.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
it's shocking.
it's ridiculous. So yes, no. What are the things that you are hearing, like the common themes and the conversations that you're having around in the your electorate?
So there's many different things. Parklands we've touched on, issues around development and the lack of community voice in development. I don't think many people are actually against the need for development and the need for new housing. We definitely need housing. That's certainly the case. But what the situation we've got is in 2014, the housing regulations were changed by Labour, under John Rao, and the Liberals didn't change anything either. Once that happened 4 years later, so now we've got a situation where basically the developers run the state in regards to that area, and communities, local residents, and the like have very little say over what's actually happening in their area. A lot less than they used to. Even the consultation's tokenistic and it's a tick box exercise. So I think there needs to be a balance restored. I understand we don't want to go too far back in the other direction, as in, have a whole state of NIMBY, so to speak. But a fair balance, I think, is the way to go. And right now, it's weighted far too much towards developers. Um, and we're seeing a lot of issues around lack of support for communities more broadly from the state government, issues around public transport, cost and access. I'd like to support increase to our tram network, our reliability of our bus and train network, and also reduce that down to 50 cent fares. I think we can get people moving around our city
Yeah.
easier. I think that's makes kind of accessibility and equity much more reasonable. But look, a lot of the issues, and there are many varied. I can go on
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
day, so to speak. But what they all come down to is two particular concerns, and that's transparency and accountability with this Labour government. We're seeing Malinowski's made a lot of captain calls, and we're seeing a lot of decisions made behind closed doors. Always large events that we're seeing, and I'm not against large events. Let's have them as long as we've covered the important stuff first. As long as we've covered cost of living issues around child protection, education, ramping. If we've got those sorted, fantastic. Let's spend some money and have some great, fantastic events. But the Premier seems to have it the wrong way around. It's events first, and then nothing afterwards at this point.
Yeah.
A lot of money, we're talking millions and millions, are being spent on these events, and we're not seeing any disclosure of what's being spent. A good example is a couple of years ago, they had an influencer event down in McLaren Vale around all the vineyards at the Cube. All these famous Instagrammers, and not quite sure what it accomplished. I guess it made the Premier look good on socials, but no disclosure of how much that cost, how much the state, the taxpayers, were paying these influencers. So, yes, things such as that, just this lack of transparency, and we've seen that. I know you've seen that around the child protection issue as well. It was
Yeah.
massive around in that.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
hearing that as a common
yeah,
theme across child protection, health, disability, education, the lack of transparency, the lack of inclusion, people being
yeah,
deliberately excluded, the controlling of narrative, then
yes,
keeping reports secret. You know, I agree. We are the taxpayers. They work for us. And they should have to give us information on how much they spend and what is achieved out of those projects. And,
exactly.
obviously there will always be information. It might be third party identifying information, as when with any FOI or anything that's kept private, but
Yeah,
we should all know what are they doing on our behalf and what is the benefit and the outcome of those projects. I agree.
Exactly right, exactly right. And my experience being on council for 4.5 years, I've always voted for transparency. I'm very fortunate to have received the support during this campaign from Transparency Warrior Rex Patrick.
Mhm.
So I think almost yes, as I said earlier, almost every issue comes under the umbrella of that. A lot of the concerns and problems being raised. All link back to this lack of transparency and lack of accountability. So that's a starting point. And as they say, the best disinfectant is the light of day.
Well, what do they used to say? It was keep the bees honest, wasn't it? I won't say the B word, but the bee
Yes,
keep the bees honest.
yes,
And I guess
and
with that, that builds trust, doesn't it? And we can start acknowledging that I guess the community's lives are in the hands of the right people.
yes,
But at the moment,
exactly right.
yeah,
And we're seeing more and more residents, more and more voters voting outside of the major parties, um, uh, for independents, for minor parties, and the like. And Um, that's not a bad thing, but we have to make sure we're voting for people, the right alternatives. We have to make sure we're voting for people who are inclusive, who are looking at evidence-based solutions, science-based solutions, who are involved with their communities and accountable to their communities. That's what's crucial. Otherwise, you just vote in another round of, party hacks, for lack of a better
yeah,
word, and yeah, replacing
yeah.
one problem with another.
Absolutely. And I've seen how well members of parliament can work together. Child protection is a great example of the crossbenchers with the Liberal Party all working together to try and address what many people um, determined a flawed bill for child protection. So I've
Yes,
seen how a good mix of people can work together to try to
yes,
achieve good outcomes in Parliament. It would just be great if we had a really good balance so that there was independence in that thought process and we didn't have major parties who vote for the party. They actually read the
yeah,
bills that are put forward because so many of them told me that they hadn't read the bill and they
yes,
just voted for it. I would like to see every single person in Parliament remembering that they work for us and that we are
yes,
their number one priority. And it doesn't matter if it's their best mate next to them that puts a bill on the table, read it and then
yes,
listen to the community. If the community is emailing you telling you don't vote for it, don't vote for it. Put
yeah,
it back out to consultation, genuine consultation, be it
yeah,
child protection, paramedics, police,
yeah.
health, whatever the bill may be. Like, let's just start being accountable and open and being honest.
Exactly right. And we saw it recently with the child protection bill, and so many Labour MPs hadn't actually read the bill. They just took the word of the minister and voted blindly, followed the party line, and we're seeing that in all areas, to be honest. And
Mm.
I think people are sick and tired of that kind of party blindness, I think, for lack of a better word,
Yeah,
party loyalty, towing the party line, and the whipping of members by the parties. And I understand that it's not in our particular system. It's not feasible to have, for example, our lower house, 47 members. It's not necessarily feasible to have 47 independents.
yeah,
But I think what would be a really good outcome is if both major parties were knocked down in the future to, the high teens, and we had a crossbench of equal power, in the teens, and no government could be formed by either party without support
yeah.
by independents. I'm not talking, jobs for boys, ministries, stuff like that. I think, minority governments where each and every vote is assessed by the independents
Mm.
on the merits of that particular item. That's, I think, is the way forward. But the only way where we can get there is to get more and more independents elected in the lower house,
Yeah.
and the upper house, of course.
Yeah, I agree. It's like any type of board or group. if you have a really high representation of one group, you're never going to get independent voices through, and it's not going to best represent the community. And when we look at how many hours taxpayers' money, like taxpayers are funding this stuff, so
Yes.
the hours of taxpayers' money wasted on the to and froing in Parliament, just on that child protection bill alone, when had people agreed to work together, accept proposed amendments, we could have finished that off, and then we could have been focusing on other issues for the community. Instead, it must be hundreds of thousands of dollars being wasted over that to and froing and arguing and sticking your heels in Parliament.
I would say millions, because you talk about the hundreds and hundreds of hours that went into that, from staffers from all over, from minister's office to crossbench to the opposition, plus staff, the non-partisan parliament staff, the amount of hours put into that. Oh gosh, yeah, it would be hundreds of thousands, if not into the millions. And I completely agree. And I think part of that issue as well was the minister and was the party. Yes, we can blame the system. I do blame the system, and I want to improve that system, as we've just discussed. But also, to have a party and a minister uh, purposely ignore the advocacy and advice given by those with lived experience, is, in my mind, completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. Yes, we should listen to the experts. We should listen to the science. We should listen to the community. We should listen to lived experience, and then we listen to all of that and take the best way forward. You don't listen to, a one small, very narrow, influential stakeholder, or group of stakeholders, which I suspect the minister's done in this case, and ignore all else because of that. I just think it boggles the mind.
So,
Boggles
what
the
will
mind.
you do if you're elected
Mm.
and you enter Parliament as the member for Adelaide? What will you do differently, and what do you take away from working in the office of Tammy Franks?
What I will do differently is I will listen to stakeholders, and be guided by them. I will make my own decision. I think it's important to make your own decision, and stand by that. But I will listen to the stakeholders. I will be engaged with the community, and I will be the community representative in Parliament, not a parliamentarian representing a party. That is the difference. And yes, what I've learned from Tammy is to actually get down to the grassroots,
Yeah,
listen to the grassroots, listen to the community, understand the difference between the different types of stakeholders. Look who's funding who, who's connected to who, and follow those trails, follow those lines back, and it becomes quite obvious very quickly why some of the major parties make the decisions that they do. And I say it boggles the mind.
yeah,
Not so much perhaps when you follow those trails, and it becomes quite obvious that, who parliamentarians are truly serving. So yes, I think it's important to have that grassroots connection. Keep your feet on the ground. Be accessible. Always have an open door. Be ready to have a chat, answer emails, jump on the phones. Yeah, accessibility all the way.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of the frustrations that I'm hearing from not only the carer community, but people in my community. I'm in the Cedar Taylor, and I have so many people, contacting me saying, we don't get responses to our emails. We have our requests for meetings denied. We don't see the members until it's election time, and all of a sudden they want their photos taken out in the community.
Mm.
These people aren't accessible. That's what we need to see changing, is
Yeah.
that it needs to revert back to our members of parliament are funded by taxpayers, and
Yeah.
they work for us. They're there to be
Yeah.
our voice and to represent us, and they work for us.
Yes.
It's the service. There's no service anymore.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And look, it is incredibly frustrating, and I think we are seeing a pushback, now by the community against that,
Mm.
in many different forms. We know it has been noted there has been some support for One Nation, I do think that most people who are actually getting behind One Nation don't necessarily agree with all policies of One Nation, but they are wanting an opportunity to vent and show their genuine frustration for the major party system. So I would argue there are other alternatives, such as community-minded independents and other minor parties from across the political spectrum. I think we do need a pushback, and it's interesting to see how that pushback will look. Um, as we've discussed, I am running a very strong community-based campaign here in the seat of Adelaide. I've been very, very fortunate and blessed to have received the support from hundreds, if not thousands, by now of community members. I've got 50 plus active volunteers out letterboxing, door knocking. We've raised tens of thousands of dollars, all grassroots and all transparently recorded to get behind this campaign. We have become, I think, the real challenger now in the seat of Adelaide to the government, to the Labour government, with the collapse of the Liberals and the Greens focused elsewhere. So I am giving it a good shot, a good shake of a stick, so to speak.
Yeah.
And there is a possibility. In fact, this is one of the seats that Labour could lose. And it's not to the Liberals; it's to a community independent campaign. So to your viewers and who are watching, if you're in the seat of Adelaide, the state seat of Adelaide, would love your consideration. I'm always happy to chat, and I know Lisa will probably provide a link in the video to the website. We're always happy to chat, and if you want to do more, if you want to jump on board and support and do a little lead boxing, hand out on election day, we'd love to have you along. And we're enjoying ourselves as well.
Yeah.
The volunteers I'm talking to, we're having a good fun campaign. We're talking about serious issues,
Mhm.
so we're taking the campaign serious, but we're having fun with the campaign while doing so because you've got to enjoy what you're
Yeah.
doing, getting out there, talking to people, and meeting
Yeah.
lots of new faces.
Yeah, and that's one thing when I was supporting my local independent in the federal election, out there, I guess campaigning and meeting the community, and also other volunteers for other candidates, was I really enjoyed it. That connection and seeing what others were doing and hearing what others, I guess their experiences and everything. I found it brought a lot of good people out trying to assist and bring change, and that's what I enjoyed.
Yes.
So that was my question for you. I will post links in the when I share it on my Facebook page, but also in the YouTube link.
Yes.
Have you got any other events coming up, or anything that you want to promote now?
So right now we're doing I'm door knocking 5 or 6 times a week, but I've got weekly door knocks happening around the place. If you follow the links provided, you can sign up to our newsletter and keep up to date with all of our comings and goings. We are looking at having a forum in the near future as well with well, I won't say with who yet until I've got confirmation. I don't know jump my gun, so to speak. But I reckon we'll be having at least one forum, and I'll be having many different kind of in-person catch-ups around the place before the election. We'll be blasting them out weekly in our newsletter. So yeah, happy to see people and have those conversations.
Wonderful. Alrighty. Anything else you want to get out before we say farewell?
Well, I'd actually like to touch back on the Carer project and just say I have read thoroughly your 12 election priorities and commitments.
Mhm.
Now, it's quite easy, I suppose, as an independent to turn around and just to say to whichever advocacy group an independent is talking to, oh, yes, I agree with everything you're saying, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to take that at face value. But what I have done is I have read through this thoroughly, and as I said, I have got a personal connection to this system, and I have worked for an MP who has worked with yourself and others to try and improve the system and bring that stakeholder voice from carers into the system. So I do come at it from a genuine place. I've read through, and I am wholeheartedly behind each one of your 12 commitments. I think they are reasonable. I think they are fair, and I think they are doable. And so, if I am elected, I look forward working with yourself and other stakeholders to get as much of this accomplished as possible. And look, I won't say I have a particular favorite. I think they're all incredibly important. Independent guardianship board, yes, it's a no-brainer. A dedicated and competent minister for child protection. That's the bare minimum. I mean, that's the least any of us should expect. And yeah, unfortunately, it's not something that I believe we have right now, and I suspect you're in you're in agreement
No,
with that one.
and it doesn't matter who you put in there with multiple portfolios. It's not a personal thing. We
Yeah.
believe, along with so many other stakeholders, that children, family, carers, and also those the others working in the sector, we all
Yes, exactly
deserve
right.
to be the focus of a minister who is free to then get stuck into actually some genuine reform. What I
Yes.
will say is all of those commitments are things that carers, many, many carers, hundreds of carers, have advocated for now since before this government was elected. So we
Yeah.
advocated to them before the last election. There were promises made to the carer community which have been broken this
Yes.
term. So none of those commitments are new. But all of those commitments will address all of the little the smaller complaints. I mean, no complaints small for a carer or child or family, but instead of having a look at little individual complaints and hundreds of them, we've had a look at and we've established what are those overarching, those umbrella items that if we address those things, it would reduce all of those things below. So
Yes.
we've consistently advocated for those things now for what must be up near 10 years. So it's
Yes,
time.
and it's become extremely clear through my time in Cammy's office how
Mm.
much work has gone into this. This isn't just a thought bubble. This has been clear and sustained, well thought out, well articulated concerns raised by yourself and many others, and to see that thrown away and hands washed by the government is incredibly disappointing. That's just from my perspective. I can't
Yeah,
even imagine how frustrating and disappointing it has been for you and other carers
yeah.
and the like and advocates. Yeah, you have my full support and full
Thank you.
sympathy for what's happened recently with dealing with the minister. But I'm looking to the future, to this next
Yeah.
parliament, and if I get in, you have my full support, and we'll give them everything we've got.
Well, and we're looking forward to seeing who is elected. And regardless of, if you're a Labor minister, Liberal, and Independent, we want to work with the team and we want to be part of the solution. We have the solutions. We just need people in place now willing to work with all of us and the other stakeholders and, like such as the Office of the Guardian and Children Commissioners and the NGOs. There are so many of us who have been in this space for so long, who have the lived experience that I don't understand why we're just not willing to sit down and finally fix it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much because carers are absolutely exhausted from advocating for just the basic needs of these kids to be met and
Yeah.
also for the respect for themselves. So uh, we appreciate your support as well. So good luck in the upcoming election, and we'll get this video uploaded, and everybody can have a look and share it around. And good luck.
Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.